Hi guys, and welcome yourselves back to the survival project. In the last episode we was working on this awesome little cliffside here, just building up like a little pond for our pandas within this panda sanctuary that we're working on. Now I really love this, but I started to have a bit of an idea, because from doing a little bit of research what I found was pandas actually really like hot springs. So I'm going to make myself some little campfires, and we should be able to create like a nice little sort of hot spring effect. I just have to remember how to make campfires. There you go. That was nice and easy. Wow, I managed to make 7. What am I missing to make campfires? Is it wood? Do I just need wood? 7's probably enough. I don't really make campfires very often. Maybe it's logs. Yeah, it's logs. Okay, campfires are actually quite expensive when you think about it, but they're a really cool block. Anyway, we are going to chuck some of these underneath the water. Obviously, if we just put it straight in the water, then that's going to cause a bit of an issue. But if we go underneath, we should be able to place them directly underneath some of the blocks, and that should just give out the little smoke pillar effect. Now, we're not going to go too mad with this, but I will show you guys what it looks like in just a moment. And there we have it, just some little smoke pillars coming through the water and that, just making it look like it's a little bit hotter. Could probably do with getting a few more over in that corner there and maybe around the edges a little bit, but I think this looks pretty good. It might be a little bit excessive actually, but it gives off the effect that we want and gives the idea, so that is really cool. So what are we going to do in today's episode? Oh, look, see, you can see that bridge off in the distance. We did that 2 episodes ago. I really love it. Like, you know, you could just see it off in the distance there. Hopefully you guys can see it. YouTube compression can't knock it down that much. Yeah, so today's episode, I believe what I said we would do is start expanding this river along and sort of plotting the course out. So I'm going to grab up a bunch of stone and I'm going to sort of like start dragging this about. We're going to come up in a few places and create some height variations and that, just because that'll make things look quite a bit better. The main water level isn't going to get any higher than this here, so it's all going to be the same height level as that. But we're going to have some sort of height variation in the cliff edges of the water, and we need to plot a spot for where we're going to have like a bridge crossway. I think we're going to have like a fallen tree go across it as well at one point, just to make it look a little bit more natural, because we don't want to just put loads of man-made bridges throughout it. It's not going to go all the way down either. It's going to come to a point and stop, and you'll be able to go around like the whole park, which should be pretty cool. So yeah, I'm going to grab up some stone and get this going. So we've got a general layout for this river now. It's going to run all of the way down to pretty much the edge there. We're going to have like a little bit of a pool area there as well. And it's going to loop back round on itself a little bit there. And we're going to have a tiny little bit of a pool area there as well. And that should wind up looking really good. So the next thing we need to start considering is how we want the actual landscape to come out. Like, what I mean by that is, do we want this to just be a soft grass verge up, or do we want to get some more sort of cliff facing bits on this side, which I think we do realistically. So there's a hole in the stone. Yeah, so basically what I need to start considering is maybe like we'll have like a soft grass verge up to like this point, and at some parts of it we're going to have like some stone facings and that, just to sort of make a bit more sense, because we don't want to raise this part of the land up too much. And if I'm considering putting some form of visitor centre here, or what did I say? I think I said a vet centre on this side, then we're going to have to sort of work that out somehow. And I've still got to find a way to close this off. And probably I need to bring some of that wall along here, just up to the bamboo line. But yeah, so the next step here is, rather than sort of digging down, because I could do that, what I'm actually going to do is focus on getting some of the landscaping along the outside of this done, just so that we get some shape going on and we know exactly what we're working with. So I'm going to grab up a whole bunch of grass, which I'm actually a little bit worried I might not have enough for, but luckily for us there is an abundance of it here, and we have an efficiency 5 shovel, so we can insta-mine it anyway, so it shouldn't be too hard to do. Anyway, I am going to get on with those bits and then we can jump back in. At least for this side of the island, actually. I might not do the other side straight away, but we'll see. We'll see how I go. So if I have some grass. Yeah, see, I don't really have that much. Yeah, I don't think there's a load in our storage system either, but I'm going to get started on this regardless. So I'll jump back in just a sec. So I realised my description of what I meant in the last clip wasn't exactly 100% clear, but this is basically it. So you've got like a nice soft verge coming up the edge of the water here. So there's a grass root that comes all of the way up. But from down here, there's a bit of a more cliff face into it. So it just gives us another sort of a bit of variation to the landscape, really, I think is the right way to word that. So yeah, it just makes things a little bit more interesting than just having like, a rolling hill that comes upwards. Obviously that has its place depending on what you're doing, but I think for here what we've done works really well. So we've got this side set up now. I am tempted to get a little bit more grass placement done because I do still have a bit left. I did have a bit left in my storage system anyway, so what I might do is build up this little bit here because essentially the majority of what we're going to be doing here is just expanding this out to being like the sort of neutral size over to here, and then having a little bit of an incline over there, so there's not going to be any sort of cliff facings or anything like that. So I am going to do this, and then I think what I should probably start doing is setting this up like a little riverbed. So I'm very much going to be doing the same as what we've done here, just in a more river format. So it's going to probably come in a little bit sharper. So maybe we'll drop down by 2 blocks rather than 1. We'll see once I've done it. Obviously, I'll show you guys what's going on before I fill all the water in, just so you can have a little bit of a look around and that and see what is happening. I probably will just do the whole thing in one go, to be totally honest. And actually having a river like this should help me to break things off into how I'm going to build the next areas of this. But yeah, let's get those bits done. So grass in here and digging this out and getting it all stonified. Right then, I have been along this entire thing now and completely terraformed it up. So we've got quite a lot of texture variation and a lot of weird shapes going on. You've seen me do this a few times, and I think one of the best examples that you can see if you want to sort of like figure out how I do this is one of my Unorthoblocks episodes. I'll put an iCard up in the screen. I actually think it was the first official episode. I build an entire pond then in a sort of time lapse, and you can sort of see how I'm going with it. But to be totally honest, a lot of this is just random block placement. You just want to get a nice mix up of everything. Now, it doesn't matter too much because a lot of this is going to be covered in water. We're going to be adding lots of green to it. There's going to be a lot of different colours. So even if it looks a little bit bad at the moment, as soon as you add all of that water and all of that variation in, it all starts to look a bit better. Now, of course, all of the rocks are going to look a bit broken down because the water's going to be sort of like attacking it. So you're not going to have a smooth surface, not service. And yeah, so this is basically what we've got. It gets really, really thin over there, which I'm not overly happy about, but I also didn't want to tear it down and sort of rebuild because we're actually eating into a lot of this side already, which actually really limits how much we can really do here, because we're going to want to get a hell of a lot of tree cover going on. We're going to want a large little bamboo section, which I'm thinking to put along this edge anyway, because that could be a good way to sort of solve the issue of this bit being really thin. But yeah, we're going to need a lot of trees going on. So just before I add all of the water in and I fall off of there, there's one thing, I think I mentioned it already, 2 things really. I want to get like a man-made bridge in, and for a man-made bridge, I want it to be really simple, but I think we need to find an area where the height is pretty much the same. There's no point in putting it down here though, because you'd be able to walk around the edge. So yeah, I need to find an area where we can get a couple of man-made bridges in, and I also want to put some like fallen trees that'll act as bridges as well. And that's going to create a whole new struggle for me because I don't think I've ever done a fallen tree before. But yeah, for the time being, I'm going to grab a load of water and get this filled out. It took me about an hour or so to get all of this put in, and I've got a feeling adding the water in is actually going to probably take about another hour. So, it is a bit of a grind to get this sort of stuff done, but when it is done, it just winds up looking so, so good. It's so worth just building custom rivers. If you can, just work off of a Minecraft pre-existing one, and that'll make your life a little bit easier. But for this, we didn't have one. We had to build it ourselves. Anyway, water time. So, sometime later, we now have all of the water in place, and most of that variation has sort of disappeared into nothingness. But yeah, I mean, it obviously does look pretty good when you get up close. I'm really, really missing shaders at the moment. I really feel like this area is going to look fantastic with shaders on. And seeing as they're not even there for 1.15 Optifine yet, I reckon we still got quite a ways to go. But then again, there might not be too many massive changes between 1.15 and 1.16 in that regard. So getting shaders in might not take too long. Please don't take too long. I really, really miss it. But anyway, with all of that being said, we now need to just get some of the kelp blocks in and get a load of the grass in as well. And then that should pretty much get this river section filled out and done. So I'm going to go ahead and do that little bit now. This did take about another hour. Like, this is becoming a little bit of a grind. But this is basically the biggest grind I think there's going to be for this section. Everything else is going to be a lot of fun, so a lot of like building up tree areas and all of that sort of stuff. So yeah, I'm really, really glad that I'm just getting this out of the way. I'm just sitting down doing it. Once it's done, it's done. I think that's the best way to sort of look at it. Anyway, right, enough talking green stuff. So we've got all of the green stuff in now, and I think this looks really, really good. 1.13 I really think was my favourite update to this game. It just brought so much life to it. Anyway, right, what we want to do now is get ourselves a little bridge in. And I'm going to go back to our campfire block for this. I'm going to make it too wide, I think, and that should be fine. So we can come along with the water and put it out, and I'm actually going to remove that texture there. Just because I don't like that bottom texture, so I'm just going to make it see-through, and that should make things look a hell of a lot better. Now, this is the issue. I don't want to burn myself. But yeah, if we come along like this, we're going to make a real simple bridge out of this. And now it's facing the wrong way, which isn't ideal. But yeah, I'm going to get this little bridge built up. It's not going to be anything complicated at all. It's just going to be a simple A to B sort of a bridge. And then I'm thinking around about here, I want a bridge that's going to go diagonal, made out of the fallen tree that I was talking about. So I've got to come up with a cool design for that. So we will be back probably once I've done this little bridge, and then we'll start work on the bigger one. So there we go. As I said, nice and simple, but it definitely does the job and suits the bill. I did raise this side of the stone facing up a little bit, but yeah, I think sometimes just something nice and simple like that really will help complement the build overall, especially once we start getting all of the sort of nature in here. That is going to make a lot more sense than something that is quite as extravagant as our bridge off in the distance there, that I keep mentioning because I really, really love the way that that came out. 100% though, I am changing this spruce wood texture. I'm not a fan of it. So before the end of the episode, I will get this changed up and the spruce wood changed up. Right, the sun is about to go down, so I'll jump back in a sec. But what I'm thinking is, I want to get like a slanted downward fallen tree from starting from here going over to there, so we can have like the root of it, the trunk, sort of like there, like that, and then start having it coming off from about there. It's not going to be massively thick, and I am going to be using dark oak for this, because I've got a feeling if I make it too thick, it's just going to look really weird. So that, for now, should be okay. Give me 2 secs, I'll sleep, and we'll jump back into it. So the idea here is really that we've got a man-made bridge for people to cross. The pandas can get across it, but I'm not sure if their AI will track over these campfires. I'm sure we can find out. We'll just try and push one up here. But what we're doing now is we're going to make a nice little sort of like fallen tree for them to cross the river on. So as we know, pandas do quite like to climb up trees. Now this is going to have to be reasonably thick, but I don't want to make it too thick. And I've also got to try and make it rounded as well. So that's going to sort of pose its own sort of troubles. So we are just going to have to play around until we sort of get a design that we want. Now, I kind of feel like I want it to go diagonal a little bit as well. So if I do that, I'm going to get like the base design for it laid out first. So I'm sort of coming along as a too thick sort of a thing. And once we've got this sort of angled the way that we want it, then I'm going to start coming underneath it and bringing it downwards. So this just sort of helps me to vision exactly how I want it to be. And in fact, I think that's it. It's going to come over sort of like by 3 at a diagonal like that, which is great. It's going to have to come over one more there. But that now means that we've got to come along and make it meet the ground level here. So now we're just basically going to trace the lines that we've already created up here, but bring it back down to the sort of levels that we need it to be. And then eventually we're going to start widening this out and trying to round it off a little bit. So let's do that. I might actually make this bit here 3 long rather than this. So probably means that what we need to do is that and sort of like come up from here. I'm going to get rid of these spruce bits that we're putting on the edges. That's just so that we can get the logs facing the right way, because I do want these bits to be on show. So then we're going to get rid of that and all of that. 2 and 3, and that's going to come along like that. And essentially this is now the sort of shape that we want. So it's going to be coming up at this sort of an angle. I think all in all we actually need to make this 3 wide at the very least. So let's just do that real quick. 1, 2 and 3, and yeah, on this side 1, 2 and 3. So we're basically coming along at a 1 block diagonal, 3 bits at a time, and then we're going to come and bring this central line along, which that is no longer the central line. So the central line then becomes here, and my block placement apparently is terrible today. So there, and then it's going to be there as well. And yeah, I'm doing really good at this this Minecrafting today. Got loads of random blocks everywhere now as well. So what we've done here, we're going to have to replicate on the bottom as well, just to give it that sort of rounded feel. I've got a feeling though, this might just wind up feeling a little bit too thick. I'm going to delete that bit there. And I'm going to bring this one back all the way. And hopefully this is going to wind up looking alright. I'm really sort of struggling here. I don't know if you can tell. I'm going to play around with it for a bit because this clip's become like 4 minutes long already. So yeah, let me play about with this and try and get an actual decent shape out of it. And then I can jump back in and show you guys what we've done. So this is what I've sort of come up with. I've got a load of the dark oak variants going on there. We've got some fence gates coming off as like branches that are sort of left over, obviously with no leaves on. I could possibly chuck some leaves around it somewhere. Might help sort of denote that this is actually a fallen tree. I think it looks okay. It's really, really hard to sort of create a fallen tree without it just looking like just a random line of blocks, you know, like kind of hard to make it out. But I don't think we've done a bad job. We've got some of the branches are reaching down into there, and in fact actually let me grab some leaves. I'm going to give that a go. Now I think the important thing with this, seeing as it is a fallen tree, is to really not go over the top with our leaf placement. So we're going to get like a little bit of it here and there and that, but then it's a fallen tree, it'd be dead surely. But I'm just going to see how this looks. It may not be entirely accurate, but if it looks good, it looks good, you know? It's not always about making things realistic. Sometimes it is. So, like, sometimes I really like to try and make things as realistic as possible, and other times I just go with what I'm feeling. Yeah, we got a bunch of leaves about now, so let's just jump up and get a bit of a look to see how this is, and hopefully this is gonna make it look quite a bit better. Do you know what? Actually, it does look a lot better. Again, it might not be 100% right, but definitely looks a lot better with that bit of grass on there, or grass leaves on there. Cool. Well, I'm actually going to be ending off this episode here. I have spent quite a lot of time getting this going. I quite like this now. I think this looks pretty good. I'm going to look at it for a little while, I think, and decide whether I do really like it or not, but it's here. One thing we are going to have to do now, though, is actually build a giant tree like this, just so that it makes sense why we'd have one fallen there, which is fine because that gives us a nice little variation in trees. Yeah, so we've got this entire river sort of set up now, and we can start working around the edges of it. I think I might move into working on that side in the next episode, because that is just a nice place. It looks nice, you know? It's by the ocean. Yeah, so I hope you guys have enjoyed the episode, and I did say that I'd get this swapped over by the end of it. I haven't done it. At the beginning of the next episode, that is going to be 100% done, and our spruce wood is going to be looking a lot better than this. It just looks a little bit washed at the moment, which I'm not a huge fan of. Anyway, hope you've had a good day, and I'll catch you in the next one.